you for being here, and thank you to all the four panel members for making the time today. And we are discussing a very critical and important topic because the agenda for MMA Impact India 25 is marketing powering growth. And if you look at short form videos, that's one segment that's exponentially grown over the last couple of years, right? If you think of our own behaviors, we would have consumed so many short form videos, right from the breakfast table in the morning to the commute over here to probably between sessions right now, right? So that's what India is doing, right? India is discovering new things on short form video. India is deciding what they like, they don't like, what they want to buy, etc. on short form video. And India is also engaging with the creators on short form video platforms and mediums. Now, how do marketers think of this is something that we'll deep dive into this discussion today. How can such a large engaged audience on short form video be leveraged to grow the brands and business objectives, right? So diving right in into this panel, I'll probably start my first question with Vasudha, right? So you come from the dynamic auto industry, where probably a two-wheeler purchase in India is still considered very high involvement, right? It's all about building brand love, building aspiration, building emotion. How do you think of, short-form video in the context that many of us think that, hey, it's about, short-form snackable content, but how easy or hard is it for you to build that brand love, that brand connect with an audience on short-form video? And in your marketing framework, where does that, in the jigsaw, where does the short-form video puzzle fit?
Yeah, sure. So before I talk about automotive, not just two-wheeler, I've also spent my years with Maruti, a four-wheeler as well. Taking examples and talking how did we utilize the platform and how did we utilize this format to the fullest. It's more of the base of how the communication is done. So as you were saying, people are consuming short-form video, and that is how marketers are supposed to drive their strategies towards. Whatever the people are consuming, we have to start doing that same thing. So everyone from a traditional marketer point of view has ingrained thought that 30-second TVC needs to be created because television had that spot duration of 30 seconds. And all possible long-form story content used to be crunched to a 30-second, which was also a very tough task because there's so much as a marketer we need to speak about our brand. Coming down to the times have changed. Of course, the entire push towards convincing those traditional marketeers that 30 seconds has now crunched down to a 10 seconds or maybe a 6-second bumper. That is definitely a tough task to absorb. And just because maybe the bigger lobbying of the bigger set of agencies don't allow you to do that, the marketers get the tough challenge. But coming down, it's more about what consumers are consuming. If the attention span of consumers and the clutter of brands has increased so much that a Maruti ad of Count on Us, or maybe India comes home in a Maruti Suzuki, or a Hero advertisement of that Hum Mein Hai Hero, had that recall value because the clutter was less. It was not about the only length of the film, which was a 1-minute, which could establish that entire emotional connect. It was also about the less number of brands were speaking at that time. Talking about clutter, talking about reduced duration of the advertisement which we have to roll out, the consumers have a very short attention span. They'll scroll through you if you are not, if you're not able to grab their attention, if you're not able to click that entire connect with consumers. Coming to automotive, it is a very, very high involvement product. It is not a click to cart and eventually purchase. It is not going to be the advertisement will give a performance right then and there. But it's a journey. And journey has its own stages. Considering from igniting that interest, awareness, to eventually down the funnel to consideration and intent, every message which needs to be spoken very creatively can be dealt with. It has to be more about when the consumer is going to give you only a 3-second or a 6-second, you have to deliver the message in that duration. If I really have to talk about certain examples, which I think both of the companies have done very beautifully, and I'm very proud of being part of them. I'll give you an example. So long back when sunroofs was the thing. Not every car used to have it. And especially the upgraders from hatchback used to really crave for that, I want a car with a sunroof. Coming down to communicating that in a very innovative manner in a 30-second, if you start showing a little kid gazing on the stars through the sunroof, you have done the task. You have touched the people emotionally. You have talked to the entire family and not to the only buyer. And you have also communicated what the car has. That is the key buying factor of that particular set of audience. And the task is done. If I have to really talk about maybe our two-wheelers, brands like Xpulse, brands like Extreme, where the performance needs to be shown. So we do not need a 60 or a 30 seconder to show that this particular bike goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. 3 seconds are enough for that. So you are able to create that imagery of, with that vibrant images of the bike and that drag race of it. And you are also able to communicate the functionality of it. So going through the journey, and also very importantly, knowing the consumer. Knowing the consumer from the point of view of different cohorts and what exactly are they looking for in the product. It works. And digital, of course, apart from this format, also gives us huge capabilities of understanding consumers with data and start creating cohorts.
Yeah.
I know you want to switch to the second question. This is what I see when you were raising the mic.
No,
I just met Vinay sir in the audience and recalled XL6, which is a very high, which was the most expensive car when it was launched by Maruti. In our launch campaign, you will imagine, we had created very niche cohorts, understanding that these are the set of people who will be the decision makers, and very specifically those set of functionalities, those set of imagery was communicated to them. Females had a separate creative altogether, and the males had a separate one. And of course, there were 15 cohorts created at that point of time. Now with AI, of course, we can do 1,500. But yes.
No, very well put. In fact, I completely resonate with the point that you need to understand what the consumer wants, make it context specific, and then of course, then the duration is just a function of what you want to say, right? So very well put. We'll probably switch gears and move from the auto space to the healthcare space. So I'll move to you, Ashish. So healthcare, and especially healthcare insurance, or talking about certain healthcare aspects, especially is a lot about building reliability, building trust, building empathy with patients and patients' families and friends. But if you think of the context of short-form video, many a times people would imagine that, hey, this is about mindless scrolling, right? So when you were to marry, the communication that you do to your cohort of, let's say, patients or patients' family and friends, and especially when you talk about, let's say, critical healthcare information like cancer care, brain care, or hospital bills, how does that fit into, the short-form video framework, and how do you go about doing that at Narayana?
So basically, the first change that is required is because consumer is consuming the short format. But when it comes to healthcare, every other search that you start doing for healthcare, you will end up having a cancer. So to come out of that problem and have a legitimate information in terms of saying that this is what happens when there is something like this. Usually over the years, I'll define what definition of short format can be. But doctors who were explaining a proper disease used to take a 15 to 25 minutes. And we've gone across and seen the entire YouTube as well. You will not have views for that. And the moment it changed into 6 to 60 seconds, the consumption has increased, the information has increased, and by the way, the search volume for that particular disease is increased. So it's not just us, the entire industry has made that change. So now if you talk to a doctor or a nutritionist or somebody who's a surgeon, they will make sure that they want to explain the problem to you within 60 seconds. And the shareability factor has increased. So one, you have not only solved for giving you the right information in the precise time that you are willing to put for it. The second, it has increased the shareability. And third, I'll say what is the topic, the value. So all of those tick marks, I think, quite unheard, and unheard into a category where you are under so much of stress while making a decision where to go. So that's what it has worked wonders for us.
Perfect. Sounds good. So Shubha, I'll come to you, and you bring a very unique platform perspective to this discussion, right? But as Google, how are you seeing the evolution of short form video, and specifically do you think there are certain industries, certain categories that lend themselves very uniquely or very differently to short form video as against what others are doing? And perhaps the next part would be, do you see short form video now being as an always on for some of your brands and clients?
Yeah, so YouTube has had such a rich legacy in long form that not a lot of people, even in this room, think shorts intuitively when they think about YouTube. And I think both panelists have actually spoken about how there is room for all lengths of creatives in different ways of storytelling. The question that we are seeing brands ask is not so much should we short form, it's how should we short form. Because it's evident that consumers are there, they're spending a lot of time there, but how do I, and Vasudha touched upon some aspects of it, like how do I grab attention? Attention is a very big thing here, engagement is a very big thing here. There are different brands that are responding differently to it. There's a lot of experimentation, testing, learning. And I think we alluded also to the fact about creative being a very, very strong hook and something that everyone needs to think about as they get into this, right? If you're a brand like Mondelez, which has made it look like winning Cannes is child's play every year, then you do your brand messaging in the span of that short form video, and you do it so well that it tugs at your heartstrings, that despite this being swipey as a format, I pause and I look at the entire ad, I engage with it, I like the ad, and it reflects in view-through rates. Best in class, industry, benchmark beating view-through rates on a brand creative. Then there are brands who sit back and think, hey, I have a nice, beautiful brand, let's say like Levi's, and I'm working with Deepika Padukone, and it's a nice, rich film. It can run on, let's say, CTV, it can run on the traditional TV, all of that. How do I extend that to a platform and make it look a lot more native? So they partner with a bunch of different creators on the platform, and they use a very now understood phenomena, which is hashtag GRWM, get ready with me. You use that, you get influencers to just spin a wheel, and there's an option on what type of jeans do I wear to a date, to a brunch, to a coffee shop outing, just on a lazy day. And that instantly opens up your catalog in a way that is very authentic to the platform, in a way that drives engagement, feels organic. So that's how they do it. And then, let's also talk about regional. We're sitting in Gurgaon. Are there any, by any chance, any native Tamil speakers in the audience? I would be shocked. Shock me. Okay, you were not able to shock me. But, in Tamil Nadu, there is a channel called Karyum Karyum, and there's a creator. It's a chef-led channel. There's a 9-part series, and I'm talking about food as a category, right? But this is a Surf Excel owned piece of work. So they are the sponsors behind it. 9 different episodes, episodic series, all short form, where established creators like Makapa as well as up-and-coming kid creators are part of it, and they're talking about the brand. And then for 3 months, the brand has taken usage rights to promote these episodes. It's a very, very clever strategy. When we've run influencer lift studies, it has shown results not just on awareness as a parameter or a metric, but also on consideration, on purchase intent. That's impact. So there are different brands figuring out a way to do it. Some brands are doing it better. Some brands are still learning. And as she said, it's a journey. And it is becoming more always on, because it's, once you figure it out, it doesn't feel that hard.
Yeah. So fair, horses for courses, perhaps, right?
Sorry, Karthik, before we move on to the next question. It's an interesting take, and I'm getting into your shoes. See, as a brand, you were always long format. All right, people watching 24 hours of somebody just sleeping and doing nothing, millions of views for it. But, and for you as a brand, there's a shift now. You want to,
yes.
Now the entire technology, entire brand proposition has to change towards 60 seconds. How did YouTube took that? Because it's a big shift. Did you also throw it away saying that, it doesn't work for us, we've been doing this for a zillion of years?
I think it's not so much or, Ashish, it's an and. It's the only platform where you have people watching shorts on CTV. Is it short? Is it long? And it's a beautiful phenomena, because for media, for the likes of, let's say, Jio, or for the likes of Netflix, it's a fabulous way to drive sampling of what they have to offer. Because when people can't decide what to watch, so the famous joke is that you spend 30 minutes on Netflix deciding what to watch, and in the same time, you actually consume content when you're watching shorts, right? So for a lot of people on the connected TV, watching shorts is a rising phenomena. And very often I discover a short that I like, and it is my hook to then go watch long form, either on YouTube because it's a creator, or on Netflix because it's a new show, or on Amazon Prime Video, or whatever. In fact, my favorite story, because IPL is still fairly topical, is that maybe my team is not playing, and I've decided to skip tonight's match. But my favorite creator is talking about it, and there is some review, or there is some hook, or there is some reaction video, or there's something. There's so much shoulder content there, suddenly I want to change my mind, I want to watch cricket today and get in on the conversation. That's the impact of a platform which has scale and has an ability to tell stories and drive impact both on short as well as long form.
Before you ask a question, Karthik, I think I'm really surprised, Ashish, that, you had Shubha representing as CEO of Google. I was expecting a more commercial question from you versus creative. I think both of you could have just asked.
Yeah, the CEO came as a surprise here. The question.
Even to me.
It was a surprise to her as well, I guess. Yeah.
Made the best out of it. Man.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, moving on, Nikhil, my next question is to you. And I think both Vasudha and Shubha brought out this fact that, consumer decision journeys have changed a lot since the last, you can say, decade, or even in the last couple of years. First, the consumer decision journey funnel was fairly linear, but today you have platforms, whether it's social media, short form, where not only awareness and knowing about a brand or a product, but even purchase happens almost immediately, and consideration could happen elsewhere, etc. So it's like a labyrinth. It's no longer a linear journey. So where does short form video sit? And according to you, how is consumer intent and consumer behavior getting shaped by short form video? And the second part to it is, when brands and marketers come to you, what advice do you give them to kind of leverage this medium?
I think good question. And I think the topic itself needs context setting in terms of impact, right? I think, let me bring some statistics, right? There are close to 3 billion global users on short form video formats, right? 3 billion users. There's importance of it is women take 50% of the audience set, right? Most application genres are 70-30 skewed. This one is 50% women. Another interesting statistics, on SFV, we moved from ad spending of approximately being around 4.6 billion to now being 146 billion US dollars. It is going to be 60% of total digital ad spends. We're talking impact here. Let's move from a impact standpoint as an ad format, because short form video can be content and short form videos could be ads. And today I think the lines are fading between what's content and what's an ad. And that's the creative part of what brands are doing right now. They are perceiving and creating stuff which are not seen as ad. And I think Ashish just talked about doctors talking in a way and format that is not perceived as education, is perceived as communication, which could also be an ad for the brand itself, 34% higher conversion rates, 23% higher click-through rates, 90% completion rates on videos, and then 2.5% higher boost on engagement. Now that's impact. Recent survey, 65% of people exposed to short-form video ad formats wanted to purchase products, 73% prefer watching only short-form video content for researching products. And then there are 73% which are also represented as, if I see a short-form video, I'm going to act upon it, whether it's from a search standpoint or engagement standpoint. What I'm trying to employ is that this format is no longer a format. We don't have to look at it in isolation. Things move on. For a lot of people, I shouldn't say this, but probably
no one else is holding back.
I know where there's
nobody's holding back. So I think Google may not be the search engine of choice which comes naturally. ChatGPT maybe, or DeepSeek, or whichever AI engine that you use, right?
Or YouTube might be.
YouTube might be as well. Good one.
I like this. Continue, please.
So I think naturally that consumption pattern is changing. And I think for short-form video ad formats, what we have seen is that when marketers are approaching it from the point of creating measurable impact, short-form video ad formats have transformed, delivered, and created an impact far superior, measurable impact, far superior than, let's say, from other traditional ad formats. This is also coming from a lens of evaluating post-COVID, where the lines between what's performance and what's brand advertising has faded a little bit. Today the conversations are more frugal in terms of what ROI do you expect from investing in advertising? I mean, at the end of the day, no ad is created for the purpose of showing somebody a great ad. Any advertising is done at any forum for the
Plus
purpose
one.
of...
Plus one, and you're absolutely right about the incremental sort of impact that we are also seeing on our platform in terms of just metrics, and the topic does talk about the value, right? It's just not engagement, and very nicely put that it's not just for the sake of putting a beautiful ad out there. What we are seeing on YouTube as well is when marketeers are adding shorts to their existing long-form campaigns or deploying a shorts-first strategy, it is actually having an impact on consideration, which is a very hard metric to move. It is also having an impact, like I think he alluded to it, in search lift. These are hardcore intent metrics, right? They are very, very lower down in the funnel. And there are stats as well. So there was a Google Ipsos survey that was done which said 87% of people who are watching YouTube and YouTube Shorts are watching them as part of their shopping journey. In fact, I was sharing with Vasudha backstage, I'm in market to buy a car. Whether it is long form, whether it is short form, I am consuming a lot of content on YouTube right now, just trying to decide what kind of car I have to buy. So this is something that is happening across the board.
So I think, but Nikhil, tell me one thing, like, and just to your point, right? Like, can you really, like, of course, today creatives have to do both the brand heavy lifting and the performance heavy lifting. But is it really possible to do a 50-50 on both? Or do marketers have to hinge towards, yaar, isme thoda brand push karte hain, isme we'll have to optimize towards performance?
There will always be that. I think being an ex-marketer, I think I've spent enough years on that side to have my creative freedom to not completely rely on a certain ad format. I think there is always the importance of storytelling. I think all of us from marketing backgrounds wear that hat of what the brand stands for should reach the consumer. What we believe in should be well understood by the consumer. And I feel while there is absolute merit on people who are able to do it in 6 seconds, there is always going to be a cliche, right? But going back and completing your answer, I think whether it's a publisher-led format of consumption or whether it's in general programmatic advertising as well, I think what we advise, and at least what I always advocate, and from a very neutral standpoint without really advocating a platform or a particular way of advertising, is that you should be screen fluid. You know, today the consumer is not on a platform or a screen, okay? The user is migrating between, you're driving, you saw digital out of home, how cool. Oh, you just saw your score and some news that you wanted to see, you saw your mobile. By the time you reached home, somebody is watching connected TV. Now, you are fluid across all 3 formats, and instead of getting stuck on, you know, we press so hard on frequency capping that, you know, come on, you know, we cannot go beyond 3, but you're not realizing we're showing the guy the ad 12 times across 3 different formats that you're adopting for. What is great about the relevance of this conversation with this topic is short form videos actually flow seamlessly through all 3 ad formats. You're driving your car, a 6-seconder comes out phenomenally well on a digital out of home screen. On connected TV, you're watching content in the middle of some whatever Mirzapur you're watching, oh, 1 minute ad, let me educate you about something. It doesn't work. 6-seconders work with maybe do it 3 times, you know, in that ad. Great recall. And then when you're going back to sleep, maybe an ad that is there while you're watching news or playing a game while before to sleep. And what I always come back to is, it's important today with your short form video ads as well, it's not where your ad is shown, it's who your ad is shown to, right? And if the consumer is moving towards short form video, you have to move there as well. So that's all that I wanted to add here.
Just adding a little more from who we are showing to and where we are showing to, what we are saying. So even from the intent, which is complete performance-based marketing, which we do at the lowest of the funnel, review videos really work. It's a long format video. So you of course have to talk to the set of people what they want to know about. So long format, short format as a mixed bag goes across the funnel. It's more not like if you have to build the brand from an awareness point of view, it has to be a long form. Short format videos work across the funnel, and so does the long form. It is more about what we are trying to say to the consumer.
I'm mindful of time, so probably it's the last question, and I'll probably open it to all 4 of you. So I think 2 of the big second-order impacts of short-form video has been the orange economy, right? Like you have creators who are micro, nano creators that have come out, and you know they have really become a big economy in itself. And second-order impact has been the burgeoning trend of regional, local, vernacular, language-first content that's come out, right? And a lot of that is driven actually because short-form video has gained a lot of prominence, right? For you, as you're interacting with marketers or like if you're leading the marketing functions, how do you think of leveraging, this orange economy to create brand growth? And does it really drive outcomes? Like, for example, do you really get, say, dealership inquiries because of, doing certain campaigns on this sort? So wanted your views on that.
So vernacular is another form of, or a format of content, I'll say, which has gained traction with time, and I think thanks to Google and Facebook, who have been even driving consumers to consume that. If I really talk about the India geography, we were not having vernacular content. We were not having even vernacular keypads to go back in the early times. But of course, that is closer to consumer. That is the language they understand, and that is emotionally connected to them. Though, of course, there are claims which, of course, platforms will try to make. There's a 5x kind of a returns if you start doing vernacular. And personally, I have also seen 1.5x, not 5x, but at least 1.5x improvement in the impact which we are trying to create with vernacular. But it's more towards the targeted set of audience. It's like a segment which we create and then talk to them in the language which is closer to them. That is how vernacular is, at least for us. And specifically with the two brands I have worked with, I am working with another one. The rural penetration is, it's the key. The set of products like Alto and Splendors, they are the leaders in the rural segment. And to talk to them, whether it be through the mass media platforms or even through WhatsApp, the content which they absorb very quickly, which they understand very quickly, of course, gives higher impact. So it's area to area, region to region. Of course, it turns out to be a little expensive because the size of the audience reduces when you are starting talking to a smaller set instead of doing a pan-India kind of a campaign, but it gives higher returns. So overall, ROAS really helps.
I already spoke about the Surf Excel example in Tamil Nadu. There's another one. By the way, I speak 5 languages. I am based in Bangalore, so there is a lot more regional that I see around me. And I think when done well, she's right, there is disproportionately higher impact. So the other example, also from the Mondelez set of brands, is Oreo. And in the South, I can say definitely in Bangalore, we love our cookies or biscuits from our bakeries, local bakeries. So you don't see penetration of Oreos or any other national biscuit brand or a cookie brand as much. I love my VB Bakery, Iyengar Bakery cookies. Right?
Iyengar Bakery.
These two are really good in Bangalore. It's the same story for Tamil Nadu as well. So when they launched this new variant of Oreos, they saw sales grow everywhere. They were not able to see sales growth in Tamil Nadu, and that's when they decided to go the creator way. It was also very topical. So you need to know when you're likely to have the biggest impact. This was Pongal, which is a very big festival in the south and in Tamil Nadu. So they partnered with a bunch of creators, and it was very parent-child. That's the theme for Oreo. And they themed it as a challenge where different creators were doing this with their kids. That particular quarter, the growth that they saw in Tamil Nadu outpaced, I'm talking sales growth. So to the point she was making and the point he was making, it's not just upper funnel, feel good, awareness, recall. Hardcore numbers, sales offtakes, that was so high, and to the point you started with, it became an always-on strategy, especially around these tentpole moments. So regional, when done right, with the right kind of consumer insights, with the right topicality, has outsized impact.
I think for me, absolutely resonate. I think reach, impact, engagement, conversion, right? And in that order. And I think that's the life of every marketer in general. We at Affle, obviously we're a 2-decade-old organization. A couple of weeks back, and I'm glad she brought up the Iyengar Bakery kind of example. A couple of weeks back, we were at the Bombay Stock Exchange and we launched one of our products from there at the Bombay Stock Exchange was called Optics AI. And everybody's talking about AI, and one thing we have not touched upon in this conversation is how important an AI ecosystem will play the role in the SFE ecosystem, because technically it's unpalatable that we don't, right? And what we have been able to create with Optics AI is an Iyengar Bakery can launch or create up to 3,000 ads with cultural references absolutely suited to a market in like a matter of 30 seconds. You have 3,000 6-seconders that you can create, and then obviously use the ecosystem to sort of deliver them, right? And I think that's how fast the ecosystem is moving. And I think I will leave that to that thought process that, SFE may not even be a creative thought process in the age to come. It could be a very well-fed LLM fed model which is delivering fundamentally scalable, absolutely measurable, and impactful forms of P&L goals that were probably never seen before. And that's how I look at it.
Ashish, your 2 cents.
Dal makhni and butter chicken is waiting. Nah, I'm good. We can round it up.
So we can go on actually, but I think we'll wrap it up here. I really think that, of course, short form video has grown a lot in the last couple of years, but of course the journey really lies ahead because there is just so much that brands and marketers can leverage. And of course, before I wrap up, thank you to all the panel members for being generous with your insights and time. And thank you to the audience for lending us your ears and your attention. Thank you.